Hello, my name is Zachariah Van Sliders. This is another Snap Judgment review. What is a Snap Judgment review? If you've never listened before, well, I think game reviewers get a little caught up in completing or near completing a game before they release the review. They kind of forget what it's like to play the game right away. So I play about 5 to 10 hours with my games, and then I let you know whether you're going to enjoy it right away or not. That, coupled with the fact that I think games are one of the most subjective forms of art, I will not give a score to this review. Instead, I'll tell you an overview of what the game is. Then I'll list the pros and the cons of this game, in my point of view, as all reviews are. And then I'll tell you whether I purposely will be sticking with this game outside the purposes of this review or not. So, let's get into it. One final little disclaimer, and that is I am doing a lot of older games right now, mainly because I don't love the, how do I say this? I don't love anything coming out right now. The new games are not really interesting me, and I don't get these games for free, so I kind of review what I can put my hands on, and all these games have been older, so I'm reviewing older games. And what are we reviewing today? Well, we are reviewing Endless Space 2. This game is pretty old. It was released back in May of 2017, so it has seen quite a lifespan. So I don't exactly know who this review is going to help, but I'm 7 hours in and I have got to talk about this game. So, I got it on a little special. I got the entire definitive collection for $24. That's the game and all the DLC. What is Endless Space? It is a 4X space game where you kind of take the role of one of the, I want to say like 8 or 9 races with the DLC. And you try and get a victory, whether through economic wonders, conquest, supremacy, point score, all that stuff. And what you'll do in this game is the usual 4X thing. You will build and colonize planets. You will explore space. You will run into other big, both minor and major races, and you will deal with them accordingly. This game is incredibly in-depth. It has It has actual politics within your race, and those politics gain power based on the technology tree upgrades you made, which I thought was really interesting. So if you take a technology tree upgrade that gives more credence to religious beliefs, you will have potential religious parties in your government. Once every 20 years there's an election, and depending on how many parties get good votes, those are the parties that stick around for future. And that also controls the amount of laws you can act, and the laws control how your thing works, which was kind of new to me. I hadn't really played a game that had this political in-depthness. I love 4X games, but I tend to be very picky with the 4X games I play or get into. Age of Wonders 4 has been my go-to stable for a really long time, so this one's going to compare to it quite a bit. This one did not have as much customization options, but it does have like moving screens for your characters, some good voice work, and it does seem to kind of like lean more into storytelling for the events and whatnot that procedurally happen to your people as you move through space. You also get a certain number of heroes, but unlike Age of Wonders 4, where you just buy heroes and have a hero cap based on your cities, you gain heroes from a place called the Academy, this free-floating kind of super center for all the big badass heroes of the entire galaxy. Heroes from your race will just eventually appear from the Academy. You also get bonuses for finding the Academy and doing diplomacy with the Academy. You can also attack the Academy, and making this kind of weird neutral hub that gives a relatively precious research is a very interesting thing to add to the game. Which I will get into in it. Well, you know what? I'll get into it right now. In one of my games, because the academy will ask everybody for donations or help or whatever, and the person who does it might gain some bonus from the academy. I actually gained a fleet, an academy fleet of really powerful ships that helped me fight a war much better than I was fighting it previously, which was really cool. On the war front, I think it's very interesting. Well, another thing that's interesting, and another game like this is Stellaris. I couldn't stay with Stellaris very long because Stellaris has kind of this turn-based thing. Kind of a real-time strategy thing to it, and I like the turn-based. This is turn-based. You have a turn, things advance in that turn. That's the way I like to play. I don't like to click in a race against other players, even with the pausing. I don't really want that. I want the turn-based kind of play, and Endless Space 2 has that. In that regards, we had one of the things that you have a wide range of things that you are able to set up in the game. You can also customize your faction, with the exception of the picture, which we'll talk about later in the cons. But the actual customization is pretty deep. There's a point score and an amount of possible traits that your race can have that you can then, and every trait has a point score added to it, so you can give and take both negative and positive traits to kind of really fine-tune your race. You can also change like where they start, and all the races have this kind of like sub-play ability. It's not really an ability, it's just how the race plays almost, and you can link that to anything in that customized race thing, which is cool. A good example is like one race plays by like attaching itself through interstellar gates to other planets, and that's how it colonizes, almost like a space tree. Whereas another race can basically just buy colonies because they're very economic based. They don't have to necessarily send colonies there. They can purchase them. So there's a lot of different that kind of like subtle play. But what's cool about this, and what I found kind of cooler almost than Age of Wonders and even Stellaris, is while those all have kind of different traits, the play is very similar. Whereas with this, when you pick a different race, you're really playing the game a different way, and I think that that's really cool and lends even more credence to replayability later on, which I enjoyed. But yeah, you'll set up the game, you'll go in, and you'll try and win. You can set your difficulty. You can also play online with friends, invite them in. I'm not sure if you could do it asynchronously or it has to be live. I would hope asynchronously because these games take a really long time to go through. But it is a lot of that kind of thing, the repeat play. So the other thing I wanted to talk about is combat. Combat in this is, I think, one of the cooler things, and one of the things that it has over a game like Stellaris. With Stellaris, you have a fleet, they have a fleet. When you move those fleets against each other and you order them to attack, they fight. There's definitely animations for that. One fleet wins, one fleet doesn't, and they're just blown to bits or whatever. But you don't really have any like say over it other than my force has more power than your force, I win. With this, there is a deep tactics screen before every fight that you can go into advanced and pick the tactics that you're using. You can have up to 3 different flotilla fleets involved in the fight, which changes also the effects. It also gives you control over these tactics. Almost work like a football's playbook, so to speak, governing how your ships will move and what they will do with their shields, weapons, and other sorts of things. Really cool here because you can really change the outcome of the battle there, and then you click a thing and it goes to a cinematic watching of the fight that has a free roam camera, an overview camera. You can hide and bring up stats while the battle's going on. You can speed it up, slow it down, and you can also go to a cinematic camera. I thought this was really cool. The fights are really cool in the game. It definitely kept me coming back for more, and it made me want to do more fights, which honestly in these games I tend to avoid fighting until I absolutely have to. It's not quite as in-depth as Age of Wonders 4's, you know, strategic kind of CRPG, strategic battles that you can play out. But it's still strategic enough that, like, the battles aren't just my army hit your army, my army has bigger numbers, I win. And sometimes it does kind of come down to that, but at least giving the interaction possibilities gives you a lot of choices there and makes you feel like you're more part of it. I enjoyed that. I mean, I guess that's a pro, so let's get into pros and cons, even though that was the description of the combat. So pros, the look of this game, it is absolutely gorgeous. The hand-drawn art is great. They have these moving character avatars for each race that just look great, sound great. The voice acting stellar where it exists. I think it's really, really cool in that way, how they do that stuff. I also think that they have a good amount of customization options. We will talk in, like, my singular con also has to do with customization. We'll talk about that in a second. But there is customization here, and some deep customization on the game map and other things. One of the other things I want to shout out in the pros especially is the fact that there is an extra victory. The way the victories are done, I really enjoy. One thing about Age of Wonders 4 that I hate is, unless you are going for a Dominion victory, a score victory, or one of the peace victories, it's really hard to get the victory conditions for, like, magic and building and stuff like that. I think with this, it is a little bit more realistic on how you get the victories and what you have to do to them. I don't have to, like, there is no victory for, I mean, there's no victory condition for just destroying every other race, which most games, their Dominion or Supremacy victory, that's how that works. With this, you have to capture every other race's homeworld, or take over a certain portion of the galaxy. I think that's a really cool way to do things. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that added thing. Granted, even 7 hours in, I have not finished the game yet, so I don't know how well this works in practice, but I do enjoy that it seems to be a little bit more varied and possible. The quests are really cool. They have competitive quests that I really enjoy. I find them interesting. I love the competitive aspect of the quests. What they'll do is they'll launch a competitive aspect, like first race to find the academy, and the first race gets the most rewards. The second and third get a smaller tier award. So it makes you feel like you're in a space race. There are a lot of these games that, like, you run into other races, but they're just kind of doing their own thing. You're doing your own thing. It kind of, the way they write the stories, the quests, it interweaves you with the other races that you're competing against and competing with, which I think is really enjoyable and a different way to do things. And I already shouted out the battles, so let's go ahead and shoot over to the cons. My biggest con here is, there are tons of little minor races that I've found so far in the game. There's something called the Harmony. There's the Gahastasas or something like that. They're these weird toad creatures. There's this weird farmer race. The Kangaloas, who are weird monks that show up. I understand that you can only have so many main races. You got 9 main races, but you have the option for customization in this game of the races. I don't understand why I can't customize the race to be one of those races, or even to just have the pictures of that. With the way it works right now, you have to pick a picture of the main race. I think that's because of the animation, like how they do things, but it's a little annoying. I think there could be some more options on the appearance of your race that just isn't here. Age of Wonders 4, you get to decide what your race looks like, start to finish. The customization in Age of Wonders 4, second to none. This one, you customize how your race functions, which is really cool, but it does not touch anything about its appearance, its looks, anything like that. There is one other pro I want to shout out that I discovered kind of after I had made this list, and almost forgot to do in this review, and that would be the way you can build your own ships in this. You actually have ship customization in this, and then that ship design stays with your builders so that when you go to build more ships, you can build that ship, and you can decide what weapons it has, what armor it has, what support modules it has. I think this is really, really cool. I thought it was awesome. I could spend a lot of time just like trying different builds with different ships, and I think that's a really cool aspect of this game. Whether or not I'm gonna stick with it, I have been looking for a Space 4X game that really calls to me, and this does. I was supposed to do a lot of things yesterday, and I ended up just playing like 5 hours of this. So I really enjoy this game. I'm definitely going to stay with it. I know it's an older game, way older, but if you're a 4X person who hasn't heard about it, and you're looking for a Space 4X that is turn-based, that is quality, I say look no further than Endless Space 2. But did I get it right? Did I get it wrong? You can let me know in the comments below. You can influence this and all of our shows from there. And then as long as you guys keep watching it, making it, as long as you guys keep watching it, I'll keep making it. See you guys next time.